Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. And Joyce, we have so much to talk about, including new categories that we can predict. Crafts category.
I just did them this morning, so I don't even know what I did.
So exciting.
Flew through them.
So we're going to talk about that. We can talk about Causeway, which I saw and loved. We could talk about the Avatar trailer and Fabelmans and all kinds of stuff. But let's start with the crafts categories, Joyce. You can predict these right now in our prediction center. The first one up is cinematography in my list. How about yours?
Yes, this one. What did you put in?
Well, I have Top Gun Maverick at the top, winning. Then the Fabelmans, Empire of Light, our boy Roger Deakins, Babylon, Sight Unseen, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Those are my 5.
Interesting. So mine are the Fabelmans, Empire of Light, Bardo, All Quiet on the Western Front, and Emancipation.
Wow.
I'm getting it 100 to 1.
Robert Richardson.
Let's do it. I don't know. I just
what you do. That's insane. I love it so much. Thank you for doing that. It's a legitimate laugh and great, and I hope it happens. Just remarkable. So the ones we have, so you have Fabelmans and Empire of Light. Those are the only 2 we match on. You don't have Top Gun?
No, I didn't. I considered Top Gun, but then I went Emancipation, and I also went All Quiet on the Western Front, which is a very pretty movie.
So All Quiet on the Western Front, and in our odds, the way it looks right now is Fabelmans, Top Gun, Babylon, Avatar in 4th, Empire of Light in 5th, All Quiet on the Western Front 6th, Everything Everywhere 7th, Banshees 8, Bardo 9, and the Batman 10. Now I almost had Bardo in, and then I took it out for Everything Everywhere. And the reason I took it out was just because I think, while I'm going to say this, this is not a knock on Everything Everywhere, but I would say the cinematography is not something I was really I found remarkable compared to something like Bardo, where the tech achievement in Bardo is like off the charts. But because Everything Everywhere is such a more beloved movie, I felt like it will get in here. So that was my pick. Empire of Light, we both have. Deakins, love it. He does really. I think this is a movie that we have not talked about a lot, and maybe we'll talk about later, Joyce, because I have a listener question to pass along at the end here
about EOL,
about Empire of Light.
Wow.
But incredible crafts, beautiful crafts, and Deakins' cinematography is really good. And Babylon, you have Babylon or no?
I do not have Babylon.
We haven't seen that yet. We're seeing it next week. Normally, I like to not put stuff in.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yes,
2
a
weeks.
fortnight.
Today's only the 2nd. Wow. Okay. And normally I don't like to put stuff I haven't seen, but I was like Babylon, Line of Sandgren, sure. And then neither one of us have Avatar. Is that right?
No, I considered Avatar as well.
So Avatar was a nominee, I believe, here in 2010.
Yes, it was the first one. A different DP though, I believe.
Yeah.
So
we had an Avatar trailer today, Joyce. We'll talk about that later.
Which I also have not watched yet, so you can tell me all about it.
I'll tell you all about it. All Quiet on the Western Front. So that's on Netflix right now. You can watch it. People seem to like it. German film, I believe.
Yeah, but also there's some English in it. Yes.
Yeah.
And as we know, the OG one won Best Picture back in the day.
Yes.
Almost 100 years ago.
Yes. So we're back again. Anything else you thought of? What about Banshees?
I mean, I would love it, but I did not seriously think about it for here. I thought about the Batman and Elvis.
I thought of Batman also. I love the Batman. It's actually a great movie that has super held up for me throughout the year. So I would love to see.
I also thought about Batman for another category later on too.
I'll tell you one I really would love to see that I don't think will happen is Nope, Hoyte von Hodema. The cinematography is awesome, and especially because so much of it takes place at night. And I think he really does a great job there, but I did not put it in either. And we'll see. These will change a million times between now and next week, probably. But I have Top Gun winning because.
Oh, yeah. And then we also, we have obviously waiting for Guild awards to remember when ASC nominated Chirk.
How can you forget Chirk, the great Cherry?
Chirk. Yeah.
Newton Thomas Sigel. Never forget. best costume design, Joyce. Next up, I'll give you mine. Pretty chalk almost. I have Black Panther Wakanda Forever winning. Ruth Carter won for this in 2019. And I think she might win again in 2023. The Woman King I have next. Great costumes. Elvis, Babylon, and then I put Till in, which I thought were beautiful costumes. Left out the Fabelmans.
I also have Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I have Babylon, Elvis, The Woman King, and I do have the Fabelmans.
Nice. So I took Till and you took Fabelmans. That's pretty chalk, I feel like.
Yeah, I also considered Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And also Living by the great Sandy Powell.
Incredible costumes in Living, and one of the standouts of the movie, I think, and I could see her getting in because it's Sandy Powell.
Yes.
Be curious to see what here falls out. The top 5 in our odds are Black Panther, Elvis, Babylon, Woman King, Fabelmans, then Till, Everything Everywhere, Corsage, Living, and The Northman.
The Northman. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't heard that one in a while.
Yeah, it's on Peacock right now. You can watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I just put in Fabelmans. It is a period piece.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, lovely costumes in there. And Woman King, I just personally kind of loved.
I think they're really great, actually, the Woman King costumes. And there's a lot of intricate detail on them that I loved. Mm-hmm. I thought they are really cool. Elvis, I feel like, is just a home run. All the costumes are really great. They do great work in that movie.
And Babylon. You have Babylon, right?
I have Babylon. So I took Till because while I think the Fabelmans obviously is best picture frontrunner and its costumes are great, I think the Till costumes are more forward facing in the movie than the Fabelmans costumes, that they're like more attention grabbing, let's say.
Well, definitely in the Chicago parts.
So that's what I'm thinking. And that's why I was like, it is really great. And I think
it's brighter, but that's also the aesthetic of the film. And that's not the aesthetic of the Fabelmans. So it's just like whatever you prefer, I guess. But like I would say they're both period accurate.
Yes.
And I think, for Till at least, a lot of the costumes they had to recreate from real life images of Mamie Till, obviously. So there's that element to it. Whereas like with the Fabelmans, it's, a lot of interior moments of the family.
Right.
So, but they change. I would say there are more costumes in the Fabelmans, especially when you see like the home movies that Sammy Fabelman films.
Yes.
So it's just like there's a more quantity there.
That's true. I would say the other thing with costumes sometimes I think, and this is another reason why I picked Till, is sometimes just one image or dress or action can like be enough to get you nominated. And I think the yellow dress,
like the trash dress in Cruella last year.
Yes. And I think the yellow dress that Danielle Deadwyler wears in this, I think as she's sending Emmett off, is like incredibly memorable. They've used it all the marketing, and I feel like that alone could get this a nomination. Basically, there's nothing as comparable to that in the Fabelmans, as far as I can tell.
No, but it's also, again, I think that's just like, I wouldn't say it's the same as the trash dress, because the trash dress was like a trash dress.
Right.
It's just like, I think that's just a memorable still from the movie.
Right. But I think that sometimes is enough. I don't know. We'll see. That's costumes. Joyce, editing, you're going to love this one. I came up with this one on a plane recently. The winning best editing is Elvis. Okay. So I have Elvis in. I have Top Gun Maverick. I have The Fabelmans. I have She Said, and I have Glass Onion. Those are my 5.
Wow. I have Top Gun Maverick, The Fabelmans, Everything Everywhere, Avatar, and Babylon.
So I left out Everything Everywhere, Babylon, and Avatar. All incredibly long movies that I think will get dinged for a variety of reasons. Avatar, and it could be, we haven't seen Avatar, we haven't seen Babylon. So I might be coming back here in 2 weeks or 3 weeks and being like,
you're going to immediately become obsessed with Babylon. We know
obviously that. I'm going to love it. But I'm just saying, like, I could see even something like Wolf of Wall Street, or, like sometimes these movies are too long. That's the knock, right? And they could get in, but I don't think they're going to win.
But the thing is, it's like, no, me, I love like a 90-minute movie. Like, I don't mind long movies as long as it makes sense for the film, the storytelling, and then the
Right.
pacing is good. Because Fabelmans is also long. It's over 2.5 hours, and I did not feel that length at all.
No, the Fabelmans pacing is incredible. That's actually what I went with here. So I have She Said in here because I think She Said is one of the most watchable movies of the year. And I think it is a good Best Picture contender. And I just feel like people will really appreciate the pacing of that movie. And Glass Onion I haven't seen yet either, but I'm assuming it will be similar. It's another long movie, but I think based on the original movie, I think that would be good. Elvis, Joyce, I actually think it can win this category, not even as laughably like Bohemian Rhapsody.
No, I thought about Elvis. I just didn't put it in.
The scene in Elvis recently I was on a plane recently, Joyce, and you know what people love watching on planes at this month? Elvis. Every screen had Elvis on, at least on my United flight. And I got to see it over people's shoulders and all these different things. The scene where Elvis first gets up on stage and is like gyrating, and the way it's cut together, so everyone, I don't know if you watched this yet, but there's an incredible scene where like Elvis is doing his thing, and like every woman in the audience is spontaneously like erupting up out of their seats, and it is cut together so well, and it's so much fun and just absolutely unhinged, that while I think the movie, like a lot of these other movies, is incredibly long and drags out, that is just an unimpeachably great scene, and I think that alone could get it to win. So that's why.
No, like I thought about it, because also you have to remember that they do love a good musical number.
Yes, and there's a lot.
Remember
of
Tick Tick Boom?
Yep. So I left out Everything Everywhere, even though it's second in our odds. I just think that movie it's a little long. I think when you're sitting there watching it, even if you love it, you're like, this is kind of dragging a little bit sometimes. Now, I don't know if that matters.
Like that, like I would say like it would be more, if it gets in, it'll be like they just like really love the movie.
Correct. So that's why I put it in for cinematography, and maybe I should just put it in for editing for the same reason. But
like, I think like I put it in here over cinematography, because I feel like they might just think like they would reward like the juggling of like the universes,
Certainly. And I could see that happening very easily, but for now I'm sticking with these five. And Top Gun and Fabelman. I think Top Gun will get a lot of craft nominations, as you can see here. Very excited for that. And Fabelmans, I think, could be a strong contender to win here, because like you said, it moves like lightning, even though it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. And it's another opportunity, perhaps one of the last ones, to honor Michael Kahn, right? Again, so that could be good too. And I think Sarah Brochard,
truly snubbed last year,
right? Isn't it Sarah Brochard who does it with him?
Yeah, Sarah.
Yeah. Just great stuff. And I know team editings maybe are not always as likable as single editors, but maybe they'll make an exception. I don't know.
I think Ford versus Ferrari had 2 editors.
That's true. That's true.
That's also, they love car crashes. They love explosions and cars.
Which there are actually in Fabelmans, at least from a train crash. Production design, Joyce, another great category. I have Babylon, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Elvis, The Fabelmans, and I put White Noise in because, what, Scream, White Noise. I don't think it'll happen, but man, at this point, I'm just putting the movies I really love. The production design in White Noise is incredible, so that's why I have it in.
It is, and also a lot of sets.
Of sets.
The supermarket is great.
Yeah, so that's my 5.
I have Fabelmans, Black Panther, Elvis, Babylon, and Avatar. And this is where I also consider the Batman.
Great production design on Batman. I really love the Batman, Joyce. No surprise, probably. And there are so many elements of the movie that I really loved, and they could all have been referenced here. You like production design, I think you're right. Score, I don't have it in. Spoiler alert, we'll do that next, but I think it could get in for score or be considered. Costumes for sure, cinematography. All of those elements are really great. And I feel like maybe back in March, we were thinking about, or like at least contemplating it as a possibility, but maybe because of Top Gun kind of taking up all the oxygen in the early part of the year, it has now kind of disappeared, I feel like, Batman, from that conversation.
Well, 3 actors from the Batman could still get Oscar nominations, just not for the Batman.
That's right. So you have Colin, Paul, and who else?
Barry.
Oh, right. Of course. I forgot Barry was in it.
Forget Barry.
He's the Joker. How can you forget Barry?
I believe he's credited as like an inmate.
Yes. I think Arkham Asylum inmate or something. White Noise, Joyce, like we said, the production line, I just love it. people haven't seen it yet. It comes out, I think, on Netflix in December. But we saw it at New York Film Festival. The supermarket stuff that they recreate is just incredible. There's so much great detail and so much great 80s detail in that movie. I just found it unbelievable. It's one of those movies where you read that it costs like $150 million. Then you're like, yeah, I could see that all up on screen. They definitely did not waste a lot of their money for that movie.
Yeah, I think it comes out December 30th on Netflix. You know,
It
it has like the Lost Daughter slot, like
yes.
the last drop, final drop of the year.
Right.
So we'll see. It's a, you know, no pun intended, it's not really making a lot of noise right now.
Yeah, I got that.
So
I saw
yeah,
you go in there and I liked it.
I know. Yeah.
Uh,
So another one I considered here was Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I believe that's the full title. So
they're really pushing that Netflix. That's coming out, I think, in December. And they're going for like, I saw somebody tweeting about this, that the ads are about best picture, not even best animated feature.
you know, they know those like last 3 slots are open.
I've heard really good things about it. I've not seen it yet, but like I know it's screened, I think, at London, and just in general, talking to people are the response has been very strong. It seems like another great Guillermo del Toro movie. Obviously, saw last year when he had Nightmare Alley, late entry into the awards race, still got a Best Picture nomination. So
Yeah,
can't count him out. I mean, I still
so.
think they're biased against animation, but those last 3 spots are pretty opened.
Yeah, so those, I don't know what else did I, and then yeah, Avatar.
I guess my question with Avatar, and this I had with cinematography and here in production design, and while I understand it was nominated in these categories previously, is the original movie had seemingly a lot more scenes with people, and there's more sets. And this new one is seemingly all about the Na'vi and on their water planet or whatever on Pandora. And I wonder, while obviously they did a lot of like, it's like motion capture and all these different things, will there be like a ding because it's so much CGI? I have no idea. I know there was so much CGI in the original, but I just felt like because there were scenes of like Stephen Lang or like, you know, Sam Worthington as like a human being, that they are less, perhaps there was less of a maybe perceived bias against it. I have no idea though.
So you're gonna just choose the other water worlds in Black Panther?
Well, Black Panther, there's at least sets and people walking around. I don't think there are in Avatar yet, but we haven't seen it, so I don't know. It also,
you know, all the actors in Avatar, they learn how to hold their breath.
They did
for a very, very long time. So
I read that and I was like, wow, that is a really long time. I think they said Kate Winslet can hold her breath for like 8 minutes. Is that right, Joyce?
It's 7, so she has the record, which she has talked about a lot. Like even last year when she was doing all her Mayor of Easttown promo. So can't wait for this press tour.
I'll tell you what, she should. That's pretty impressive. She could talk about it a lot.
Yeah. And like Sigourney Weaver was jealous because she could only do like 6.5, I think they said. Yeah.
Here now, Joyce, next score. I have to say, we love the scores. This is one of the most competitive categories, I would say, based on what I've seen and heard in like a long time. I could go like legitimately 20 different movies I could pick here. Honestly, like they're all really...
I feel like a lot of the scores I like will not get nominated, which is usually the case for me and my faves for not just this category, but like all Oscar categories.
You want to do we'll do our picks and then do some we would like to see, actually. I kind of did both. I split the baby here a little bit. So I have Fabelmans winning, John Williams.
His final score.
Final score, just going off in the sunset. I have Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which won here in 2019. I have She Said for Nikki Bertel. Hell yeah. I have Babylon, Sight Unseen. And I have Women Talking for Hilder. And I left off so many that I loved, but those are my 5.
Okay. So I have The Fabelmans. Empire of Light
was on my list, but didn't put it in.
Women Talking. Banshees of Inisherin. And Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Wow. So you got a Desplat in there for Pinocchio. You got Carter Burwell for Banshees and Reznor and Ross for Bones and All. I mean, for Empire of Light. So Bones and All, I was actually going to put them in for Bones and All because that score is unbelievably good.
So, you know, like what really hurt me, I don't have Tar anywhere in these categories, at least. And I considered Hilder for Tar too, because she did both Tar and Women Talking. But I feel like So she is eligible for Tar, they claim.
I don't.
But like she's like the music she composed for Tar is just Lydia's compositions, and or like the piece that she's trying to compose during the movie. So it's not, there's not really a score in Tar if you haven't seen it yet. And I would say the music in Women Talking is also minimalist too. Like it doesn't come in a lot. It's not like Till where the music is all over the place and swelling all the time. But it is it has a more memorable score than Tar, because like it plays for a lengthy period of time towards the end too. Yes. So I think you can easily pinpoint that score in Women Talking than you can in Tar, even though that is literally about composing.
Exactly right. One of the things that really shocked me when I went into Tar and watching it was that there is not a lot of music, like original score.
It also makes sense because she's like, rehearsing for a Mahler's Fifth Symphony. So like that's not an original composition. And then she's just trying to write for the other half of the movie.
So let's see. Banshees you have. Absolutely love the Carter Burwell Banshees score. It's unbelievably good. And I would love to see it get in. Again, I just had a tough time finding room for it because I got to keep Bertel in there for She Said. Pinocchio haven't seen. Tar, like we just discussed. So Empire of Light, love the score. It's Reznor and Ross doing something a little bit unexpected for them. Impersonating Thomas Newman, perhaps. Like a Thomas Newman score for Sam Mendes. Beautiful score. And one of the elements of the movie I think is really great. I didn't put them in because I think you'll have as many people liking the Bones and All score, which is very much in their Gone Girl wheelhouse and is so memorable as well and fits the movie so well. So both of those I think would be really worthy. Terrence Blanchard for The Woman King. I absolutely love that score. It's really great.
I thought about that. Yeah, I love that score too. Like when I was watching The Woman King, I was like, this is a great score and I would nominate it.
So good.
And I feel like he's like in the club now.
Yes.
Because he finally got in for Black Klansman.
And this is very much...
Yeah, and then they nominated him for The Five Bloods.
And it is Spike adjacent, I feel like, in the tone. Like I think basically Gina Prince Bythewood maybe was like, I know she's like, I just think definitely was like intentionally chose Terrence Blanchard for it to give it that kind of like sound, the Spike sound a little. Mm-hmm. The Batman score is Michael Giacchino, absolutely awesome score. Avatar Way of Water, I think was nominated here for sure in 2010, right?
Yeah, James Horner, RIP.
Right. So I think it's a contender, even though we don't know. White Noise, I would say for original song, maybe not. Everything Everywhere, honestly, I can't remember the score very well. But
yeah, I cannot say I seriously consider that. So.
And then two I did consider but are far down, Top Gun and Nope. Nope is a great score. It's very loud in the movie and very forward in the movie. And then Top Gun Maverick, Hans Zimmer just rolling in with like a bunch of collaborators doing it. I don't think it'll get in. You mentioned Till. I really love the Living score. I thought it was just beautiful. I didn't know the composer at all. And I think she's done a decent amount, but just really good score.
Mm-hmm.
Look it up so I could give this person credit.
Yeah, so I didn't put in our guy Nicholas Bertel because I don't think he'll win anyway if he gets in. So I'd rather him not pad his nomination numbers just to lose. But like, yeah, I don't know. I can see him not being part of like She Said's Hall.
So I thought maybe not. I'm going to keep him in though, obviously. The reason I think the score is very prominently factoring in the movie. So I think you notice it. Maybe that's a downgrade for some people. The living composer is Emily Levians Farouk, a French pianist and composer based in London who worked on the score for Rocks, Joyce. Remember that last year or 2 years ago? Just a gorgeous score on Living. I really love that. Living is a movie you saw recently. And I saw back at Telluride that I just loved. And I really want to convince. I cried so much. It was like truly weeping.
Is this the movie you've cried the most at this year?
This year for sure was Living. I just found the ending really beautiful and like so sweet and sad.
I did not cry, so.
Not surprised. And I left the movie and I was like, man, this could really be a stealth Best Picture contender because I think you can make the case that it could get adapted screenplay nomination, because it's based on Akira from Kurosawa. It could get costume design and score possibly, and Bill Nye, and then maybe it gets a nomination for Best Picture too. I have not done that, but I think there's a world where that could happen.
I think it would really need to be, it's SPC. I think they could get Bill the nomination because we know what they do.
Right.
I think I only have it in for actor and adapted right now.
Same. I only have it in there too.
Yeah,
but
like I think it might be like maybe a little like too quiet. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the score there is beautiful.
It's great.
I didn't put in Ludwig for Black Panther because they're not really into sequels unless you're John Williams.
So that's true. And that seemingly is like a knock on it. That said, based on all the early response, people are like, it's definitely a level up, it sounds like. Now, again, it might not matter. Who knows if the actual content matters sometimes. But I mean, like if he does like level up and there are a lot of emotional moments in the movie that are going to make people cry, then it might kind of resonate more and maybe it gets in. So I'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what else was there.
That's a lot. We've talked about a ton of scores.
I know, like it's but Hans also, he did The Sun too, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And in Pinocchio, you had, like we said, haven't heard it yet, but Desplat. Hard to bet against him.
Yes. So yeah, like I think, remember Midnight Sky, he did that too.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, sometimes like I think he kind of depends on the strength of the movie. So, but you know, I have spoiler alert, I have Pinocchio winning animated feature. So even if it doesn't make it into Best Picture, I think that could help him, carry water.
Certainly. You'll be shocked to know I also have winning animated feature. That's next. We could go there, Joyce. For animated feature, I have Pinocchio winning. I have Turning Red as a nominee. Strange World. This is this year's Encanto, at least in release date strategy, because it comes out in Thanksgiving. The movie Luck from Apple. A little fraught, but I think popular because it's on Apple. And then something called My Father's Dragon, which I believe is on Netflix.
I have Pinocchio, Turning Red, Strange World, My Father's Dragon, and Wendell and Wild.
So I thought of Wendell and Wild. It came out, I think, last week on Netflix. I'm not sure if I don't know. Henry Selick and Jordan Peele production. Henry Selick directing.
Yeah, Henry Selick directing, and now a lot of pickup about his comments being like, everyone thinks Tim Burton directed Nightmare Before Christmas.
And they do. It's true.
It's true because it's called, like, the title is Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. But
I put Luck in because it seems like, I don't know, I could see getting a little renewed bounce from Apple. And I know it's like not a bad movie. It's kind of a cute premise. And it's like an old school animated movie here that could get in. Wendell and Wild, I could see getting in. Neither one of us have Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I watched that again recently.
Yeah, I don't know.
Totally fine movie. I just think I would be kind of surprised if it got in. It's actually fourth in our odds though, which I think is more indicative of people online liking it.
Yeah, it's a very internet friendly film.
I mean, for all we know, like something like The Bad Guys could get in here. Like I have
I can see like Puss in Boots getting in, like the first one got in.
Not mentioned here, we did not mention the movie Lightyear, which was not very well received and seemingly pushed out by Turning Red. But
that, they dropped. I was on Disney Plus like the other day and I was like, oh yeah, because they recommended Lightyear to me and I was like, I completely forgot about this movie.
It's funny though, I saw it with my daughter. She not a fan, Joyce, I would say.
She's not a fan of the movie.
No.
Is she a Toy Story?
She enjoys Toy Story, and she wasn't a fan of the movie. She was actually kind of bored. But then we were in a toy store the other day, and she was like, "Oh, Lightyear toys!" She was excited to see Lightyear toys.
Well,
so like the brand is strong.
Like Buzz Lightyear,
right? The brand is strong, but
yeah. I mean, just to be clear, it's not about Buzz Lightyear the toy. It's about
not the man.
The man the toy is based on.
Correct.
So, yeah.
So that's it. Those are the extra categories, Joyce. Congratulations to us. So based on this, did you change any of your like when you get to see it in print, the other categories? Did you change any of your predictions in Best Picture then?
In Best Picture, so the only thing I did today was I dropped She Said for Avatar. And It's not even because of the trailer, because I haven't even watched the trailer. But I don't know. I just kind of, I feel like in the 2 weeks since She Said premiered, I feel like it's just like the noise around it has been kind of muted too. Like obviously it can pick up again because it's going to open in 2 weeks. So yeah, but I don't know.
I think you might be right. I still have it in. I'm still very bullish on the movie because I love it. I was looking at this and like looking at the way we did these predictions, like the rest of those extra categories, and then just the general like public response. How safe is Tar as a Best Picture nominee?
Why did you drop it?
I didn't drop it, but I don't have Todd Field getting in for director because I think that Martin McDonagh, I think there's a set 4 basically at this point for director, which is Spielberg, the Daniels, Sarah Polley, and Damien Chazelle, sight unseen, and I guess he could fall off. And then I have Martin McDonagh. I don't know. Is Todd, like, I don't have it in for director.
I mean, I can see Todd not getting into director. I think Tar is fine for picture. Like, I don't think it's winning Best Picture, and I don't think the conversation has ever really been about Tar winning Best Picture, you know?
No, not winning, but I'm like, is it even, I think the consensus is that it's like a no-brainer for a nomination, but I'm almost like, is it actually safe? Like, I had a regular pal who saw it, Joyce, just a real life human being, and he was like, what the hell, basically.
Okay,
WTF.
well, so I went to the dentist on Saturday, and my dentist saw Tar, and he loved it. And then he asked me if Kate Blanchett has an EGOT like Lydia Tar, and I was like,
nice.
No.
No.
And he was like, she should.
Now,
so.
Kate is unimpeachable. Even my friend who was not hot on the movie was like, great. I think she is like an absolute lock, obviously, for nomination and again, probably to win. I don't know about I'm just like, there is like Richard Brody obviously went viral for like trashing it, but I don't think that sentiment was necessarily rare.
Because as we've already said, legendary contrarian.
But I don't think that sentiment is necessarily rare among especially older people, it seems.
But like the thing is, it's like it doesn't need to have like to just get in, especially how we've always talked about like those last 3 slots are pretty open. Like it doesn't need like everyone to be in love with it. You know, it definitely has its passionate supporters. So I think I have it in like 5th or 6th in my room.
I have it in 8th now.
So, but the thing is, it's like, so it went in wider release, not like totally wide like Till did. But it was in more theaters over the weekend. And I think like the response has been, or at least like online, like most people do like it, especially Kate's performance. You know, and you know, obviously there was that whole cut story with the writer who thought Lydia Tar was real.
Yes. That's when SEO goes wrong, Joyce. Clearly the pitch was, is Lydia Tar real? That's a good Google term.
It is, because that's something that people will definitely Google.
But then when you write it, the way it was presented, perhaps a little.
I also don't understand, like maybe this is just me, but like I have never gone into a movie completely blind, like not even knowing anything about it. Like at least like read a log line. Like I like to have as much information about a movie as I can before I go into.
Certainly no spoil. Like I understand people are spoiler phobic,
but you can at least just like read like the Wikipedia page and you could see that it's a fictional story.
The only time I've ever seen something even a little bit cold is like at a film festival, and even then you kind of like.
No, like I know like who's making it, who's
you still know who's in
like the log line,
right?
Yeah.
Like Women Talking was a good example. Like no trailer or nothing, but I knew the one still. I knew who was in it. I knew what it was about. Got it. Like I get it.
Like I just don't understand that concept of just not knowing anything. Like
what if it was just a bit, Joyce, for the sake of clicks?
It was a bit. You know, I want to go viral. You know, so but I don't know what we're talking about. Oh yeah, Tar. I think like like I don't like remember. People, I still think people are still doing this, like making this comparison to Spencer. It is not like Spencer. Like I think Spencer is a lot more alienating. Tar is not alienating. It is actually pretty accessible.
I definitely think Spencer was more alienating. I don't think that's a great comp. And Tar is actually like entertaining.
Yeah, it's funny. Like a lot of the comments, you know, over the weekend, like it's funny, you know, like
it's funny.
I think the issue, quote unquote, as a word with Tar is that, as we've discussed like weeks ago when we were talking about the actual movie, like one of the things I love about it is like it doesn't really give you, it doesn't handhold you, it doesn't give you any answers, it doesn't tell you how to judge Lydia Tar.
Right.
Again, it doesn't mean the movie doesn't have morals, but it doesn't tell you anything like how to feel about her. It leaves the judgment up to you, and I think a lot of general people do not like that. They like to be spoon-fed.
Exactly. And so that's why I'm looking at it now and I'm like, is like if it didn't get nominated for Best Picture, I would not. I guess I would not be shocked. I don't know if it'll. I think it'll have some strong, passionate support, and I think she will obviously have a lot of support. But I think I could easily see people being like, I'm much more infatuated with something like The Whale, perhaps because I cried watching it. We still have not seen The Whale, you and I.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's that is definitely more emotional.
Or
Even
something like
without having
Avatar,
seen it.
which is like a big spectacle, than Tar. And maybe She Said doesn't get in either. And I'm like, you guys are probably watching this being like, Chris, you're a moron, because She Said has no shot either. But I'm like, I could see Tar not, especially once I was like filling out the other categories in our predictions, just like, I don't have it getting in. Like we said, I just don't have it getting in a lot of these places, because while everything I think is really remarkable, I love the cinematography. I think the editing is actually really creative and great. And it is another movie that, even though it's very long, doesn't drag like certain other movies might. I don't know. I just don't have it getting in these places.
Like realistically, of the ones that we just did, like there's still other categories with short lists.
Sure.
Like it could get into sound. The sound design is gorgeous.
I think picture director would be a possibility for sure. Like I don't have
like the thing is like the ceiling for this movie is not incredibly high in the first place.
Right.
You know? So it's like, I guess like of these, I don't know, I guess like maybe score and like editing.
Maybe editing and maybe cinematography.
I don't know.
It's tough, right?
Like the costumes, I don't think they'll go there. I mean, contemporary wardrobe has a tough time in general.
Right.
So yeah, like it's not like a movie that is gonna get 10 nominations, you know? So
that's why I'm like, maybe it's tough beat. I don't know.
I mean, I also know like some people aren't even predicting it for screenplay, you know?
Right. And I think I have it in for screenplay, but I definitely could see myself pushing it out as like just more, you know, like one of the things I think we saw that like I'll keep going back to Coda, but I'm just like, sometimes people just like what they like. And I think if there are other movies they like more than Tar, which is possible, they'll just pick those instead, you know, like that's it.
Yeah, but I think like it's like the discussion, I think the conversation around the movie is fine. Like it's not like no one is thinking it's gonna win Best Picture. It'll win like Best Picture, like Critics Awards, you know?
Right. I'm not.
It's not like a Power of the Dog when everyone's like Power of the Dog is winning Best Picture.
No, it's not like Power of the Dog, and I like the movie and all these different things. I'm just saying, like, looking at it this week, I was just like, huh, because I had Tar very high. I had it in top 5 for like a long time.
Yeah, but again, like the ceiling for its nominations is not incredibly high.
Right.
So it's like it can still get into best. I think like because now it's a hard 10, we're going to see a lot more films with just a lower nomination haul because of, you know, some years maybe like this one we'll see like it's just a struggle to reach to 10, you know, so you'll probably have a lot more movies now that will get into Best Picture and maybe just one other nomination.
That's very likely,
you know. Yeah. So I don't think it's like a demerit to Tar if like it makes it into Best Picture and it doesn't get anything below the line, you know, like all its other nominations are above the line.
Right.
And like I think that's fine. And again, like we're not really seriously talking about it as a Best Picture winner. No. So it's just like it'll get the nomination and it'll be fine. It might be in like, you know, the bottom 5 range in the end. So who knows?
Right. Joyce, wanted to talk about a movie coming out this week. You watched it last week. Causeway.
Yes, great movie.
Loved it.
And you had low expectations for this movie?
So I had great expectations for it at Toronto, and I think I was first to talk about it with you. And I had them in.
Also not really, because I don't live under a rock and I know the conversation about the film. And
you were not Googling.
I saw it before you did.
You were not Googling, is Causeway real?
I was not.
No.
Although stories similar to that are real. But like you had low expectations.
I had lower expectations.
I told you that it was a great, and then you're like, oh really?
And then I saw it and I was like, wow, it's great. It's absolutely great. I loved it. I just loved it. It's one of my favorite.
I love it. It's actually one of my faves of the year.
Yes.
And I saw it again because we actually got the screener.
Yes.
So I saw it again over the weekend.
You're able to watch this if you're a regular person watching this
on Apple this Friday, November 4th.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend doing so. It's a
Yeah, and it's
90-minute
only
movie.
92 minutes, so in and out.
Jennifer Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry are in it. It's about a woman who goes through a traumatic experience in Afghanistan and comes home with recovers and comes home to put her life back together and kind of like heal. Strikes up a friendship with a local mechanic played by Brian Tyree Henry, and this is in New Orleans. Joyce, the Big Easy.
Yes, The Big Easy, and it's just like a lovely, quiet little film. And
You
it's
said this, and
really
I think
elevated by the performances. They're so good in it. And I really want to put them both in, but I did not. I did not put it in anywhere.
I did put them both in.
Of course you did.
I loved it so much. I'll tell you what.
I'm sure everyone is shocked that you immediately put in people from a movie you recently watched that you liked.
Obviously. I really loved it. I don't know. So I'll say this. It's definitely a return to form for Jennifer Lawrence, I would say.
I love that she's out of her David O. Russell era, because I am not the biggest fan of his 2010s output, like those types of films. And I feel like her talents were underused / misused under him, and this is definitely a return to like her Winter's Bone indie form, if you're into that type of J-Law, which I am. And he's really great in this, and just incredible chemistry with Brian too.
And I feel like it's weird it's one of these movies that I'm like, I wonder how. It's a weird movie because not a weird movie, but it's such a small movie. And I say this not as a pejorative, but I'm like, I went back and looked at a lot of the TIFF reviews, and it's like almost everyone liked it. It has like 3.5 stars on Letterboxd or whatever. But I just feel like when you're seeing like 100 movies, it's hard to be like, and coming out of like something like Fabelmans and Glass Onion, or you're just going to be super hyped about like how cool it was or whatever. And then you see something like this, that it's like very, very meticulous and specific, but not slow. Like I was not bored at all. It's just like you said, it's just like two people talking is most of the movie. I just wonder if people if you hype it up too much, are people going to be like, whatever. But it's really, really good. It's just the performances are incredible. She's unbelievably good. I don't think I've liked her as much in anything since, I don't even know. I do like those David O. Russell movies, but I would say after Silver Linings, for her, the returns were slightly diminishing.
Well, yes, because now all the pickups today on Wednesday, as we're recording this, is about how Adele told her she should not have done Passengers.
Well, yeah, her overall career certainly, like a lot of
and then she's obviously talked about like how she took a break. So
I will say I really loved her in Don't Look Up. I think she's actually quite good in that, and it's like a fun performance, and like she does get to the humanity of that character. But this is just really incredible. I just found everything in this so good, and I found like a lot of from an awardsy Beatty standpoint, like a lot of the recovery stuff in the beginning, there's like a prologue basically with Jane Hudishall from
a great supporting turns by Jane, Lena Emond, Stephen McKinley Henderson.
Really great.
And also a great just one scene appearance by Russell Harvard. It's him and J-Law. Really moving.
That part was really, I think that scene is like, that for me, for her was like, oh, like this is like next level performance. And that was when I was like, I'm actually putting her in.
Did you cry?
I did cry. It's just really emotional. It's just like a really great scene. It's everything in it is so well written.
It is, and it's also like, it's not, how do I describe this? Like, it doesn't really telegraph anything, even though you kind of know what's gonna happen and you could kind of like foresee the ending. But like that scene with her and Russell, like it just kind of comes out of nowhere, sort of, and then like the way it plays out, like it just like it doesn't feel the need to give you a lot of setup. No. And I think we talked about this because like she had a Vogue cover 2 months ago, and in that, because they started filming this in 2019 and obviously did a break with COVID and everything, and then like when they returned, they were just doing a lot of workshopping, and a lot of the scenes between her and Brian were improvised too. So I also like, I want to know like which scenes were improvised too, but like I think and they also said like they shot, was in that story, I don't know, somewhere, maybe in some other interview I read, like they shot flashbacks of her in Afghanistan, but they're not in the movie, which I think is the correct choice.
Same.
Yeah.
It doesn't need, you don't need to. And honestly, it actually makes, I was thinking that too. There's a great scene. So like you mentioned, like these great supporting performances, small, like just like one or two scenes. So Stephen McKinley Henderson is her doctor. And so he asked her to basically describe what happened to her for her injury. And her recounting that is so horrifying. I just was like, wow, it's like really, it's so much more powerful hearing her talk about it.
Yeah, and then you can envision it yourself. There's a lot of retelling of stories in this movie.
And so while she is incredible and I have her in, I know it's a tough road because Best Actress is so competitive and like there are incredibly big baity performances like we've talked about. And basically, I think the set four that I have that you probably have too are Cate Blanchett, Danielle Deadwyler, Michelle Yeoh, Michelle Williams. And then that fifth spot, I've had Viola Davis. Now I switched out for Jennifer Lawrence. I do think people like Jennifer Lawrence, and obviously, like she's got an interview with Kyle Buchanan today in the New York Times. Like she's going to be promoting, and people like having her back. They did last year for Don't Look Up. Viola, I think, has a different narrative as well because she like produced Woman King and is like such a physically demanding role and all these different things. And then you have like someone like Olivia Colman or Anna de Armas. Even I don't even know if that's still like a real thing, but there's a lot of competition there for Best Actress. But I'm just like, man, it's tough to beat this performance. She might not have like the role, like the big loud role, but it's like, this is an incredible performance. And I think if people do watch it, and like we said, like if she could win one thing or get recognized in one spot, then all of a sudden maybe people take note and like it kind of builds momentum. I don't think she would ever win, but to get a comeback nomination here for her, comeback in quotes, because it's like she's still one of the most famous people in the world, would be really remarkable. So I do hope she gets in, and I will keep her in there.
I hope she gets in too, but I just didn't, like it's just a very small movie. And I think I said this previously, like it feels like it should have premiered at Sundance, whether earlier this year or next year. It just feels like that type of movie, and it needs kind of that long runway to build up the momentum.
It could, and like Living would be a great example. I think it's like
because that was Sundance.
Like that was a Sundance movie that's slowly building up, but even Living, like we were just talking about, tough. It's Sony Classics, so we're going to rely on them and trust them to get it in different categories. But it is a tough to get people to remember certain things. So I don't know. I don't even know. We'll see. And I mean, Apple obviously.
I think Brian, he got, as we discussed last week, he got in at Gotham in the solo gender neutral supporting category. She didn't. So I think if the movie were to break in somehow, like he's probably their best chance, and I think he would really need to hit everything, and even then I'm not even confident he could be a lone nominee.
I have him in too, and I just, again, incredible performance. Brian Tyree Henry is an actor who we just love. I love him so much. I think he's just so versatile and great, and he was so good in, like we talked about, I think last week, Beale Street, I think was like a one scene, just incredible performance, and like I was like wishing it got nominated, even though I didn't think it would for him. I would love to see him get in here. I think he takes a character that could be really cliched and like not work and makes it incredibly work. And like he is so good from his first scene with her that he just like, it feels like she immediately, like I said, I think the beginning is great and like there's a lot of good stuff, but once he comes in, it almost feels like she's like, oh shit, I gotta actually elevate what I'm doing to match him. I felt like it just is like they're so good together, and I think they bring out the best in each other. And
well, that's why I want to know like what was improvised and like what wasn't even included in the movie.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of scenes where it's like here are certain things where I was just like, oh, like here's a great, not a spoiler, I don't think you could spoil this movie, but at one point she needs to go to her doctor and her mother flakes, and so she calls Brian Tyree Henry's character to take her, and before they go to the doctor, he's like, we have time to get some ice from like slush, like snow cones basically, and snowballs, and they go and do that, and the scene is great, and it's just is like just them like hanging out,
chatting on a bench.
Just them hanging out on a bench, and I'm like,
I mean, again, it's just a lot of talking. It's just
that's what I was like watching. I was like, oh, that's the scene they could have easily added.
So,
yeah, he's absolutely wonderful. So I did put him in. I feel like supporting actor, while we said tough for a lone nominee, supporting actor is so fluid this year that I think it could actually do that, and I'm not convinced in some of these other contenders. Like I'm still not sold on Ben Whishaw.
Wait, so who did you drop to put him in?
I dropped Eddie Redmayne, R.I.P. for me.
But The Good Nurse is #1 on Netflix.
Great performance. Love Eddie Redmayne. I just think, and it's against type, so obviously people would like that. But I think Brian Tyree Henry, again, if people watch it, is just going to be undeniable. And he does feel like an actor who you've been waiting to make good with as a nominee. And I think this is a great opportunity to do so. And we'll see. I kept Barry in, obviously Barry Keoghan for Banshees.
Yeah, I didn't do anything to any of the acting categories.
I mean, I will say, like, it wouldn't happen. But for like, I personally look at original screenplay as like having openings. And
I because it feels like 6 films fighting for 5 slots.
Right. So I'm like, maybe you could get in there though. I don't think
like the movie would have to be really, really big. I feel like it just feels like small. And I think I do have Living In adapted because that's a little bit more open, and it's adapted by Ishiguro. So
I also think that to knock my own comment here on Causeway, I think if a small movie was going to get in for original screenplay, it'd be something like After Sun, which I think could have like a big well of support rather than like Causeway. But I'm just trying to give it.
After Sun definitely has more support on Film Twitter than Causeway does.
Yeah. No, I just loved it so much. If you're watching this and are like, oh, I got to watch something this weekend, please watch it. It's really good, Causeway.
Yeah, and again, just 90 minutes. So
and then predict Jennifer
half
Lawrence.
of Babylon.
And then predict Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah, you can watch Causeway twice in the amount of time you can watch Avatar and Babylon.
Yeah.
Joyce, the Avatar trailer. Watch it.
Tell me about it, because I haven't watched it.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you like the Na'vi, I got good news for you. They're all over it. I don't know. Do you remember who they are? They're the blue guys.
I know who they are. I've only seen Avatar once, and that was 13 years ago.
So they released a new trailer for Avatar. The first one was more of a teaser. If you remember, I watched it before seeing Doctor Strange. They did a screening.
Yeah, they did a special trailer premiere an hour before the Doctor Strange screening, and you actually went to it. I did not.
I did. I got to watch it twice. And this was funny.
How else are you going to fill up those 60 minutes?
You know what else was funny about it, Joyce, is it leaked online in the day before. So I got to watch it like in a German dub on a Twitter video, and then was like, I'll still go to the screening. It's fine. Mm-hmm. So anyway, new Avatar trailer. A lot of action. Still have no idea really what it's about. It looks like it picks up after 10 years after the events of the first movie or so. You get a little bit of a Sigourney Weaver is back this time. Her character died in the original, I believe, and is now back as a teenager.
Sure.
It looked cool. There's a Free Willy shot, Joyce, of a giant whale creature jumping over the boat.
Is it actually Free Willy, do you think?
30
years later.
It's like a Na'vi Pandora whale. But anyway, Avatar is gonna be really big, Joyce. I don't know. The trailer is cool. Like, I'm still in. I guess there's like I feel like the Twitter is broken down to polarized camps, as you might imagine on Twitter. And it's either this movie's gonna be the greatest movie of all time, never doubt James Cameron, or nobody gives a shit about Avatar ever and doesn't matter, even though it's the most popular movie of all time based on box office. So I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm like excited to see it. I trust James Cameron, but I've never been the biggest Avatar stan.
Agnostic about Avatar. I feel neither here nor there. So I'm not invested in one way or the other, whether I want it to succeed and win 10 Oscars or to flop completely. Yeah, I put it in to Best Picture because I feel like, I don't know, I put it in over Black Panther, even though that has been seen actually. And I'm seeing it next week, so I can add my take on it after that. But I feel like Avatar has a better shot of getting into Best Picture than Black Panther of those two upcoming sequels.
I kind of agree. I guess the reason is just because I still think there's a bias against Marvel and against sequels in general. And Avatar, while also a sequel, it's got the sheen of like, well, we respect this kind of thing, rather than Black Panther, which felt like, it's a first.
But I mean, the first Black Panther was also a cultural moment,
right?
Too. And I also felt like, because you know how usually when there is a Marvel movie coming out and then all of like the social media reactions immediately after the embargo lifts is like, this is the greatest Marvel movie since the last movie. and I feel like even like for Wakanda Forever, like I feel like even though the reactions were mostly positive, I don't think anything was like really negative. It was still kind of restrained.
So that's why I actually think it's going to be great, is because I think my tea leaf read on that was it's probably more challenging than like, the bozo crowd being like, this is the Thor 4 is the greatest Marvel movie of all time. And I like Thor 4, but come on. And so the fact that it maybe has more to say than just like a traditional one makes it seem more challenging.
But then like some of the explanations as it were was just like it takes like too long to set up like whatever it is they're setting up in the film. So it's not, I mean, as we know, it was made under unimaginable circumstances too.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see. It's also almost 3 hours long.
Everything is 3 hours.
Can't wait for that.
So that's Avatar. And what else we got? Steven Spielberg on the cover of THR, Joyce, with his
That's what I was reading instead of watching the Avatar trailer.
But tell me, what was your takeaway on that?
The promo is starting. We're in November. It opens in limited next Friday, and then wide the week of Thanksgiving. But also just like impeccable timing, as it were, because like yesterday it was like all the news about like Michelle Williams having had her third child, because there were photos of her over the weekend, and it's like we knew she had given birth already because she was like ready to pop at TIFF.
Right.
But anyway, so it's like, yeah. So they're out promoting it, and this THR story, love the headline, Steven Spielberg: the origin story. But there's also like a section in here, and I think it's kind of, the cynical part of me feel like it's kind of directed to all the people who have a problem with Michelle going lead from supporting, because it's about like how Mitzi, her character, was just an avatar for Steven's mom, gets a lot of shine and a lot of dimension as a character because of what she goes through in the film, and just kind of like the having to defy like the social norms of the time and kind of pursue her own happiness. So there's just like a whole section about that in the story. So
I read that section and I was like, you know what? I actually think she could win Best Actress. You and I both talked about this. I feel like you were more bullish on it when we did originally. I definitely did not count her out like everybody did. I feel like she could win, Joyce. She really could.
I think any of them can win. Like I still have Kate in first. Like I've always said it's Kate versus the field, and I don't think like Kate Blanchett doesn't need a third Oscar. Like I have no issue with her winning a third Oscar, especially for this performance. And I would say, I was thinking about this after I saw Tar, like of the recent third Oscar winners, like Frances, Meryl, and DDL, I would say hers is the best of those three. Like if DDL won his third for There Will Be Blood, I'll be like, that's rough. But he won his third for Lincoln. Meryl won her third for The Iron Lady. Frances won hers for Nomadland. And I love that performance too, but I'm also just like, I don't know if I would have given her a third Oscar for that, but
I don't know if I would have either. I think you're right. And I think Kate, I still have Kate winning too, but I was just like reading that. I was like, man, if Fabelmans is like a steamroller, there's such a great narrative around Michelle Williams. I could see her winning. I really could. I think that
she's really great in the movie, and she gets to do a lot.
She gets to do a lot. And if they're going to position it as like a respect for motherhood and personhood as a woman, I think will go really far for them, I think, as like a narrative.
Yeah.
And I think too, the other thing is, tell me if you think of this, we've seen it before. Kate is playing a difficult character, and there's always the ingrained sexism of having if there was a male character, I don't think anybody would question it. But the fact that Kate is a woman playing that character, people would just be like, I don't like her and I don't agree with her, so I'm maybe not going to be into it. And you're not really rooting for her in that capacity. So then maybe someone like Michelle, who is playing a complicated woman, but definitely someone you're going to be rooting for to figure it out, gets a leg up. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, especially with the Emmys.
Yes, with Sarah Snook.
Sarah Snook and also Laura Linney.
Yeah. There's a lot of sexism in Hollywood, Joyce. I don't know if you know this.
Never knew that.
Yeah, it's strange.
But also, strange. Like you might not agree with some of the actions that Michelle's character makes in the film, like you might judge her for it, but she is a lot more quote unquote likable than Lydia Tarr, even though I do think like the genius of Tar is that like you do find yourself kind of rooting for Lydia too.
You do. And I mean, that's like this is I think of that with Succession too, is the trick of these shows. Like,
that's why I never understood like all the people who are just like they're assholes. I'm like, yeah, that's why it's great.
Because you're actually rooting
for the assholes.
Yeah. And then you have to like reconcile with the fact that you're taking their side and like trying to be into them. And that's not always, people don't like to be challenged in that regard.
No, they don't. They like to be spoon fed. Yeah. they don't want to think. So but yeah, like I think like even if you don't like kind of the things like or like what happens in the movie, like this is like Steven Spielberg's real life. Like none of the things that happen in the movie like is a secret. Like it's all real and he's talked about it for decades.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler movie, even though you might
it's not
read
a spoiler
something.
Movie. Anything that's public knowledge is not a spoiler.
Yeah.
So you might not personally know it, but anything that's already out there is not a spoiler. So,
and we'll see how Fabelmans does. I mean, obviously, like we mentioned, Tar kind of struggled in wide release. Till has struggled in wide release. Armageddon Time struggled in limited release and comes out next week in wide, or this week, excuse me, in wide release. So the adult audience is not flocking back to the theaters, Joyce, for these movies.
I mean, I think Tar was fine. It didn't go super wide like Till did, and I don't know if that was like the right call for Till, even though it got the 8+ cinema score, which was also expected because
people really like Till, I think. And I
think Till, like as we've talked about, I think it's just gonna be hard to get people to watch it.
Yeah, but I think it'll hang around. I think people will go see it throughout the season.
So we'll see. I mean, it doesn't really. I mean, if you're talking about like Best Actress in particular, like box office, like whatever, like no one saw Tammy Faye.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't really matter, and we don't care about the box office. Joyce, we're gonna wrap up here, but I have the surprise was a listener question, so I set up an email. So you made it this far, and you're watching, and you want to have a question for us that you don't want to ask in the comments. You can email us.
Private.
Yes, you could email us at slugfests, SLUGFESTS, slugfests.
Did you just have trouble spelling that, or are you just trying to spell that slowly?
I was trying to spell it both, honestly. So slugfest@goldderby.com. Email us and we'll respond maybe to one or two every show if you're emailing us. But I got one in the comments, Joyce. Got one in the comments. Do you consider Empire of Light's Oscar chances officially DOA as the Fabelmans gains momentum?
I don't know about that second part.
No, I don't think they're really connected. I think so.
Because it's always been the front runner.
So I also think the reason people think that is they were both sold as love letters to cinema.
Yeah, it's true. Yes.
This is from What's Up in the YouTube comments.
What's up? What's up? What's up? So we haven't talked about Empire of Light. I saw that recently.
Yeah, I saw it. Tell you right.
Yeah. Great sets, beautiful sets, like we said, and I can see getting some nominations, and like maybe Olivia Colman still has like an outside shot, but I think like there are elements of that movie, like the elements for like a really, really great movie are there in it, but it doesn't like click in the right way.
I think that's exactly right. Sam Mendes is a great director, I think, and this is, I think, the first movie that he's written on his own. And
yeah, because he wrote 1917 with Kirsty
Wilson Cairns,
right? Who wrote The Good Nurse.
Yes, and I think the issue with the movie, it's a lot of great elements that don't always connect and come together. Mm-hmm. But in a vacuum, every element is like awesome. Olivia Colman is really incredible in the movie.
Yeah, she has great. like a fire Oscar clip.
Really great. And she's talked about how much she like loved working with Sam, like a gush, like one of her favorite experiences. This is an Oscar-winning actress who's been nominated and won Emmys and all these different things. This is like one of her favorite experience, seemingly, as like an actress, was working on this movie. And it's a great performance. It's a great character, I think. And she does a lot of different things. Like you said, there's like at least one massive Oscar clip in the middle of the movie. I just was so captivated by her. incredible. The
Yeah,
costumes
and
are
then like
awesome.
her chemistry with Michael Ward, I think they worked well together too. This is not a spoiler, they strike up a relationship.
No,
So,
right. The chemistry with them is great. Michael Ward is great. I'd not really seen him in a lot of things at all, so he was a relative newcomer for me. Toby Jones, I think, is awesome in his like 2 or 3 scenes. Colin Firth plays a giant a-hole incredibly well. All of that stuff works really well. The costumes are awesome. You mentioned the cinematography as like a possible nominee, and the score, top level stuff. Production design rules. The theater, I mean, I think I can get in there. And yeah, I'm like, I think at a Telluride, it's funny, at a Telluride, a lot of the normal audience members were like, I just saw an Oscar winner. That is definitely dissipated as like film Twitter has not been into the movie, and the reviews have been like middling, I would say. It's not like nobody seemingly hates it, but the reviews have so far have not been that strong.
Yeah.
I still don't think it's dead. I don't know. I could see getting in. Like we said, there's still 10 slots. And I think if British audiences really like it could get a renewed
like it could
bump.
get into cinematography and Best Picture.
I mean, it could get cinematography, production design, and score and Best Picture very easily, I could say. It's not out of the question.
No, I would just say I mean, I don't have it in my 10.
No.
Neither do you, right?
No.
So it's probably just like hang around in that like 11 to 20 range right now in my mind. But it is funny, even though like I just kind of made fun of What's Up for tagging the Fabelmans onto the end, but that's only because like Fabelmans has always been the front runner, right? But there are a lot of similarities between the two movies, like plot elements in it, because like I think I don't even know when did we see Fabelmans? A month ago now, when you were like, there's like an exact scene in Empire of Light as in Fabelmans, when like Paul Dano in the Fabelmans, like literally opening scene, he's explaining to his 5-year-old son how like movies work, like how like the people on screen are moving, and like how film works and productions, and that there's a scene like that in Empire of Light with Toby Jones.
The exact same conversation.
Michael Ward, yeah,
exactly the same.
The projectionist at the theater. So there is that, and then there is, this season in general, a lot of bullying. So
yeah, there's a lot of racism and bullying.
Yeah, a lot of racism, bullying, in Fabelmans is anti-Semitism. So
yes,
and here in Empire of Light is racism, because Michael Ward obviously is Black, and it takes place in 1980s England. So that element kind of awkwardly comes in and out of the movie, I felt like.
So that was what I mean. Like, I'm like, some of it just doesn't congeal. It's like very episodic, the movie, and some of the episodes work better than others. And as a piece of like, what are you trying to say? I left it feeling a little confused. But all the elements are there all the elements for it to be a great movie are there. So I think it's like, it just misses that level of great. And that's why I don't have it in. But like I said, the audience was really, really positive on it.
Yeah, like it's not a bad movie at all.
And yeah, I'm just surprised. I guess I'm a little surprised people have like kind of cooled on it. And who knows? It could bounce back. It doesn't come out for weeks. I think it comes out in December, right?
Yeah.
So they have plenty of time to get.
Yeah, like it could still get a handful of nominations without making Best Picture.
Yeah, and I think those nominations seriously would be in play. And it's got some strong reviews. I mean, Richard Lawson loved it for Vanity Fair. Joyce, Entertainment Weekly gave it a strong review.
He's going to bat for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see like when more people get to see it. But I definitely don't think it's DOA. I have it like, if I had to put it in like you said, I think 11 to 15 range right now for me would be where it is.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't actually write these down myself. Like, no. It's just like as I'm thinking it.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right.
So
email us. I won't spell it out this time because I don't need to embarrass myself further. But slugfests@goldderby.com, and maybe we'll answer your question, if you'd like, or you could tell us in the comments how we're wrong. It doesn't either way. It's fine.
No one has ever done that before, so
no. Just mostly this. Like, oh, you're such an idiot. How do you think Tar is about how she's bad? Whatever. Joyce, that's all I got today. So next week we'll do. So you're going to see Black Panther on Monday, which I'm very excited for. I can't go.
You can't see it.
But I'm going Friday with the real people.
You're gonna see it in a crowd.
I'm gonna see it with a crowd at the Alamo Draft House on Staten Island. So there you go. So we got that next week. Maybe Glass Onion finally. We'll see.
Mhm.
Fingers crossed. It's a lot to talk about, but we'll do more later. Bye, Joyce.